Europe, June 5th, 1944. And Iraq, March 19th, 2003. The time has come for the climax of the execution phase of both Special Operations battle plans. The Allied invasion fleet closes in on the beaches of Normandy. In the skies above it, the Jedburghs and SAS and OSS raiding teams are already en route to drop sites behind enemy lines. French resistance personnel hear the coded message they've been waiting for from the BBC in London and move to their attack positions. 3 years in the making, the coordinated campaign to cut German reinforcement and supply routes and disrupt command and control systems swings into action. On June 6th, OSS Operation Percy Red parachutes into the Limousin region. June 7th, Operation Donald into Brittany. June 8th, Operations Antagonistic and Percy Pink into the Haute-Vienne and Dordogne. Then Operations Patrick, Lindsay, Christopher, and Adrian. Also on June 8th, after a 2-day delay due to bad weather, the first OSS group flies from Algeria to southern France. Its mission? Deny the German army the use of vital rail links in the Lot region. June 9th, Operation Justine jumps in to strengthen the resistance on the Vercors Plateau. All these operations have a marked effect in disrupting the flow of German reinforcements during the early days of the landing, but at a cost. D-Day +1. The powerful SS 2nd Panzer Division, Das Reich, is ordered to leave its barracks in Montauban in southern France for the Normandy beachhead. It should take just 3 days to reach the battle zone. Its 15,000 battle-hardened troops and 209 tanks and assault guns will make a crucial difference if they reach Normandy in time. But resistance forces intervene, taking the town of Toul, close to the German route. Das Reich must divert to retake it. Infuriated by the delay, on the 9th of June, the SS men run amok, seizing 120 civilians and hanging 99 of them in revenge. The remainder escape only because the Germans run out of rope and don't want to waste bullets. On the same day, while searching for one of their battalion commanders who has been captured by the resistance, other Das Reich troops kill 642 innocent civilians, almost the entire population of Oradour-sur-Glane. The men are herded into barns and shot, the women and children murdered in the church. Das Reich is supposed to reach Normandy on June 10th. It doesn't get there until the 20th. But places like Oradour stand as a stark reminder of the dangers special operations can bring. The ruins of the village remain as a memorial to the horrors. March 19th, Washington, nearly 60 years later. U.S. President Bush imposes a 48-hour deadline on Saddam Hussein. 2 days later, at 0400 local time, President Bush's deadline expires. 90 minutes later, explosions are heard in Baghdad. On the southern border, the Australian SAS crosses into Iraq in strength. Also in the south, the 2nd Battalion of the U.S. 5th Special Forces Group begins reconnaissance in key locations, including Basra and Karbala. In the north, 2nd and 3rd Battalions of 10th Special Forces Group move forward to engage. 3rd Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group flies in secretly to join them. In the south, the tanks of the U.S. 3rd Armored Infantry Division race up west of the Euphrates. Meanwhile, U.S. Marines and British troops assault the oil fields and head for Basra.
These operations were conducted in the full glare of international publicity. They were being backed live to America. They were on everybody's television sets. The war in the north and in areas of the desert conducted by special forces was very different.
Special operations are always shrouded in mystery and secrecy because they often are aimed at sensitive targets. They are also using usually the latest weaponry and the latest intelligence. That information falling into enemy hands could undermine future special operations, and so secrecy was absolutely crucial.
This photograph is part of that secrecy. Special clearance was needed to show it. As U.S. tanks thunder north, one fear is that they will be held up at what the military call choke points. One is the Karbala Gap, just south of Baghdad. Special Forces Team 551 is inserted, sets up a hide, and calls in airstrikes to make sure the gap is not closed. These are photographs of the actual hide, deep behind enemy lines. Team 551 remains in place 10 days.
The reconnaissance mission that Team 551 did was absolutely essential because when 3rd Mechanized Infantry Division rolled through the Karbala Gap a few days later, they rolled through. That place was not a choke point, it was not a killing ground, it was just another piece of highway.
U.S. Navy SEALs and Polish commandos seize the oil platforms. British Royal Marines and Special Boat Service take the Faw Peninsula. SAS and U.S. Special Forces ensure that there are no Scud sites in the western half of Iraq. U.S. 173rd Airborne Brigade parachutes onto Iraqi airfield H-3 and secures it. Waiting on the ground are U.S. Special Forces operatives. In the north, the unseen war also begins. The key will be the battles along the Green Line, separating Kurdish territory from the Iraqi forces stationed north of Baghdad. Special operation teams and Peshmerga must pin them down, and then try to open the way to the city of Kirkuk and the northern oil fields. One critical battle is fought at the Debeka Pass. The Special Operations Forces in northern Iraq have a Forward Operating Base, or FOB, which is in overall command. The FOB controls 3 Special Forces Company headquarters, known as Operational Detachment Bravos, or ODBs. Each ODB controls 4 to 6 teams, 10 to 12-man detachments, called Operational Detachment Alphas, or ODAs, the famous A-teams. On April 4th, 2003, 4 days after the start of the campaign, U.S. Special Forces in northern Iraq launch Operation Northern Safari. ODB 390 from 3rd Group and 4 of its A-teams are assigned the mission, plus ODA 044 from 10th Group. These teams would soon find themselves engaged in a bitter, bloody struggle with some of Saddam's elite armored divisions. What happens next will fundamentally redefine the future operational use of special forces in combat.